All right, everybody in session here. Let's call the meeting to order for the Sheridan School District for February 19th. Please stand and join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good. Call roll for us.
Here.
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 Here. All right, first up, we have the consent agenda. If everyone has had a chance to review the items on the consent agenda, I think we have minutes from January 15th board meeting, and the last two work sessions in February. If you've had a chance there, let's read a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. I second.
All right, we've had a motion from Samantha and a second from Ruby to approve the consent agenda. Jim, could you take roll for us on that one?
Mike.
Aye.
Larry.
Aye.
Samantha. Aye. Ruby.
Aye.
Scott.
Aye. All right, the consent agenda is approved, and we'll move into presentations. First up tonight, we have a presentation from SHS Leadership. And I do believe Tasha joining us tonight to let us know what things are going on. Go ahead and have a seat and start whenever you're ready. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tasha Trujillo, and I'd like to update you on some events happening at Sheridan High School. Leadership students held the winter formal dance on February 8th and had a good turnout. Our prom committee toured 2 prom venues, and we are planning on having a prom on April 25th. We are having a student recognition assembly on Wednesday, February 26th to recognize all the students who are on our honor roll and all winter athletes. We also have a fun pie in the face activities for students to participate in during the assembly. Music completed a bottle and can drive fundraiser and received roughly 100 bags of cans, estimated to be around $500. They plan to reinvest the money into equipment and other basic needs. Cheer competed at Jams National in Las Vegas. They competed in the Oregon Elite competition and got 2nd place. We competed at state and received 6th place out of 9. Our next competition is OCCA Cheer Championships this Saturday, and our end of season showcase is coming up on the 1st of March. Boys basketball won their last game against Wilmina. This was also their senior night. Our senior players were recognized with their families. Girls basketball lost the league playoff game last night, but they won their last regular season game against Wilmina and had their senior night. Wrestling is going to districts this week, and they are getting ready for state on February 27th through March 1st. In FFA, they are having their district convention tomorrow and leaving at 8:30 in the morning. It's National FFA Week next week, so we'll see some lively dressing up. Their meeting from yesterday was rescheduled to the next Tuesday. Students are preparing to go to state convention next month. Miss Lookabaugh purchased 6 new workbenches and safety equipment for the shop. It's a big deal because it's going to improve their workspace a bunch. Art received a donated Aerodeck chair from Juliet's house. The chair is being painted by the art students and will be auctioned off to help Juliet's house program. Another thing from Art is they won a $1,000 digital camera from MWEC and plan on buying a 200 zoom camera for some really awesome shots next year. In Mr. Coyle's D&D club, they killed the vampire and they were on to defeating the Lich. And track is having signups at the end of this week. That's my report for the month. Do you have any questions?
Very thorough. I love it.
All right, anybody have questions for Tasha? All right, thanks for joining us. That was a
Thank
great
you.
report. Good job. Okay, next presentation would be Kim Butt. Thanks for joining us, Kim.
Okay. I don't think it's a big surprise why I'm here. It's been widely advertised, and I haven't made it a secret. After 41 years of teaching and 31 years here in the district, I intend to retire at the end of this school year.
That's not for retiring, that's the length of
That's for
service.
the time served. Thank you for your service.
I do not plan to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning again. I've had a lot of last firsts this year, and I'm going to have my last pie in the face coming up pretty soon. But I thought that, not that it's such a big thing, but after 31 years, talking to you personally is more important than, or maybe just better than dropping this into an email or into the district mail. I wanted to thank you, the school district and the school board, for the last 31 years. This school district, this town helped me raise my children. They thought that Salem was just where they slept, and this is where they grew up. And they were able to, they went through our school by choice, and they could do whatever they wanted to do. They were involved in all the athletics, band, choir, drama, anything that they wanted to do, they could get here as well as they could at a larger school. So I don't think our school gets enough positive press. We always seem to make it with the negative press, but I am kind of, you want to rethink, do I really want to leave? Yes. But I'm also very controlling, and I don't want anybody messing up my classroom. But that's what I wanted to say. Thank you. And I will continue to be just as controlling in my classroom until the end of, until June. Everybody says, oh, you just sit back and let them pass. There's nothing in me that'll allow that to happen. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks for
much.
joining us. Thank you for your time.
As a former student, not of yours, but of SHS, I can tell you how much you touched not only my life, but others. And,
Thank you.
and I really just thank you for that time served here in our district, because there's a lot of kids that would have never graduated if it wasn't for you. Yeah. And I thank you for that.
You're welcome. I think it's time to get out before I start teaching a third generation. Because I actually do have children of children
Oh, boy.
I have taught. So Brady Wofford taught his mom. Melanie Lux is not Lux anymore.
Yeah.
There, Mr.
Yeah.
Henderson, although his kids don't go here.
Yep.
Miss Fifield.
You've been here a while.
I'm pre-computer.
You could always sign up to sub.
I might do that, but that still involves getting up at 5 a.m.
It'll be afternoon classes only.
And I wouldn't mind to come back and volunteer and do some tutoring in math and English, because we have some kids that could really use that time after school and it doesn't involve getting up at 5 a.m. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. My retirements make it start to feel like spring is coming already. Turning over. It's only February. All right. Next up, public input. Public input, anybody in the community wants to come and speak to the board, we limit time to 3 minutes and ask you to come to the front of the microphone and tell us your name and if you're a resident of the district. That being said, do we have anybody out there tonight interested in public input? Anybody? I'm just trying to, be the same every time.
Just trying to be less scary.
Exactly, yeah.
Inviting.
Yeah, we gotta say the same thing every time. Yeah. Okay, hearing none, no public input tonight, we'll go into administrative reports. And first up is SHS, and I'm told that Pat is sick tonight, so Dory's gonna comment a little bit on Pat's report.
And I am going to invite our high school graduation coach on up. And you notice in your board packet that our high school principal, Mr. Sheridan, had some enrollment to report, and then just a couple of other items. But really what he wanted to do was to give our graduation coach, Kelly Weathers, an opportunity to explain her role, what she does, and how she's impacting and supporting our students to get to the finish line of their diploma. So you're on. Tell us about your job and what you do.
Okay. Graduation coach, I look at transcripts, make sure the kids are in the classes they need to make sure that they graduate. I meet with the kids, kind of check in, see where they're at, checking absences, finding out why they're gone all the time. I've open door if the kids have questions as far as making sure that they're on track to graduate, what they need to do. I help them set up with Edgenuity online classes, filling in the deficits. These are the spreadsheets so this credit tracker was already being used, but I'm using it in a different way. I can use that for what credits they've earned, and those will go in color coordinated freshman through senior year. And then say that I've got a student who's a junior, it will have all of the classes that they've completed for freshman and sophomore, and it will show me how many credits do they have left to get. So if I have someone who's in a deficit and they have only earned 1 credit in math, then I know that they still need to make up 3 years of math in 2 years' time as a junior. So I can take that and apply it immediately, and I can print it off and I can show the kid, meet with the parent, say, this is where your kid's at. I have one for standard and modified diplomas. And then if you go over to tracking example on the left, that's how I track with the students. So it'll tell me the priority they're in. It'll either be green, yellow, or red, so that I know where are we at. If they're in red, they are missing more. As a senior, they'd be missing more than 7 credits because that's how much you can earn in a year. If they're in yellow, they're still on track, but they're not ahead of the game. They can't fail any classes. They are like, you fail math, here we go, we're starting an Edgenuity. If they're in critical, they're missing more than it's going to take for us to get them through in a year to get them on track. Usually that's a deficit as a senior. If they're at a deficit of 10, I need to find them 3 classes in. Where are they missing it? Are they missing 2 years of English? Then I'm putting them in an English class on top of Edgenuity classes. And then I'm pushing them and checking in with them monthly. This semester, we've been graciously able to put in an Edgenuity workshop as a period during the day. So 3rd and 6th period, we can have them assigned during a time period to work on their Edgenuity classes. So we can get them to where they need to be and not just, oh, please do this over the weekend. Do like a half hour after you get home. We don't have that support in most homes to hold them accountable. We're their accountability. We're where they need to be to get on track. So having them during 3rd and 6th is helping us to make sure that it's actually getting done. Yeah, I think that's the basics of what I'm doing.
Oh, go ahead.
How are we looking as a whole? Like, are we looking good, or are you struggling with some students to just not get them to get on board, or?
Yeah, I think because I have a good rapport with a lot of the seniors because I have a senior at the high school. So I've known most of the senior class since they were in Head Start. That gives me an in. So I'm able to get through to them easier than I am a freshman freshmen don't know me. I'm new and they're new, and it feels like they are more of a pushback than the freshmen we had last year in a different way. They have a lot more testing boundaries.
Okay.
And we're just now getting grades, so I'm able to look at the freshmen, because at the beginning of the year, I can't do anything because it's just blank slate. We don't know what's coming to us. As far as the seniors, there were a couple at the beginning of the year that I was like, I don't, because they weren't responding to anything I said, anything I did. I have snacks in my office available 24/7. They know when they meet with me, I say, okay, I've got snacks, anything, just to get them to come back. They don't have to say hi to me in the halls. I had one that the first meeting, he's just sitting there, didn't want to look at me, didn't want to talk to me, thought I was the bad guy. Now, if he even comes in late, I'm here. I promise I'm here. I'm like, okay. So, but now he finished his Ingenuity classes. He's showing up more than he was. He's one of those kids who doesn't have the stability that he needs at home, but now I've given him a reason to at least, let's graduate. So he's going to graduate. I don't have, at the beginning of the year, I'm like, I don't know. He's going to now. I'm not worried about it. But we still have some that I haven't figured out what it's going to take to get them to do their regular homework. I have them in Ingenuity workshop now for their Ingenuity classes, but I think as a district, we have to figure out what's going to be that disconnect that we can connect. I mean, I'm one person, I can do so much,
Right,
but we've got to figure out something beyond that for those students.
right. Because every kid's going to be a different reason.
Yeah, and I've got a lot that, because they know me, it's easy to get them on board.
Yeah.
And now I've got I've got a freshman and specific freshman who I wasn't sure, but now I'm her favorite person, and that's great. Now will you pass your classes now that you know who I am and where my office is? Well, we'll see, because we're only 3 weeks in, 3 weeks in.
Where's your office in the building?
Right next to Mr. Schrader's and Beck
Oh, okay.
Whistle's, right in the middle.
Yeah.
So I was just going to say, if we don't have that parent connection, if they don't connect, the kids are not getting help from their parents. Where do we start to train a parent how to be a parent then?
I don't know. I've been basically my kids don't get away with anything as far as grades. C's and above are passing. D's don't pass in my house. D's pass in the school system. I don't agree. I mean, I don't have to agree with it. But my son will be the first to say, Mom, a D doesn't matter. I'm not learning anything. He knows that he needs to get a C and above to know that he's understanding the content. But how do we get the rest of the parents on board? I'm not sure, because even at parent-teacher conferences, I feel like we had more this year than we did last year that would come in and check in. But I don't know. I moved out of the district a few years ago.
You just wonder if it's a generational thing. Their parents never taught them how to be a parent
Maybe.
because they weren't a parent.
I think we have to remember it's only a percentage.
Yeah, I
It's
wouldn't.
not the majority.
Yeah.
No, but it's even
So-
a percentage. It's not good.
Well, and we go with building relationships. And like Kelly is saying, and many times that I end up meeting with students in different circumstances, I usually ask them, who's your person at the high school? Who's your safe person?
Yeah.
And Kelly very often is mentioned as that's a safe person that I can always go and talk to.
Yeah.
I'd also say with freshmen, it is a tough reality, and we try to tell them over and over and over as eighth graders that it counts for credit. And there's a whole lot of research that if you get behind your first semester as a freshman, it is just really, really hard to dig out of that because of the credits. And the process that Kelly has is showing the students, even by the color, of where they are at on track to graduate or not, which is really powerful.
So then they can see whether or not they're making progress. They have to get the 7 credits. So first semester as a freshman is really, really important. I know you started with seniors.
Yeah.
With all the seniors, you worked your way down.
Yeah.
Meeting with every student to basically say, okay, let's review your transcript. And and even training our students, how do you look at your transcript? How do you read your transcript?
Yeah.
So,
Well, Mrs. Butt, the week, because I got thrown into this position without this is what you do. And it was literally a sink or swim, let's tread water. And it took me, like I thought I had the credit tracker, so I was able to make that work for me. I made I have another tracking thing, but it wasn't working. So Mrs. Butt and I got together and she's got all the freshmen. So I was like, can I come into your classroom and we can drill them? So she let me go into her classroom for both the periods that the freshmen were in there. I brought a box of Rice Krispie treats with me and we got out the projector and I was able to show them, okay, this is what you need. And she had already, she precursored it before I got in there. So as I'm walking up to the door, I can already hear her, okay, you have to get these credits. You can't fail any English because you have to have 4 years. So we went over it with them and drilled it in. And I think before spring break, we're going to do it again because I feel like at the middle of the semester, it's giving us more of we can see if they're going to do the work or not. And then by this middle, we can be like, okay, this is actually the kids that are either on board or what can we do to get them there? And it'll get us prepared for next year with seeing where they're at now.
I wonder if it would almost be helpful to have like peers that like at the end of the year that weren't in such a great spot to come talk to
Yeah.
at least some of the freshmen that are behind and be like, hey, I was in your shoes once and look at me now, like I'm graduating. You know, this really does help if you put in the time.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we have I will use the senior that I had from the beginning of the semester. Oh, he's going to be so happy. Yeah.
Is this manual that you have to enter it or is it like you can
Yeah.
computerize?
Yeah, it's all Google Docs spreadsheet. I've been fortunate that Mrs. Hazel has all those credit trackers basically done up until last semester.
Oh my gosh.
But she's pushing away from using that as her. So I've just adopted it and made my own copies. And now I'm using it in a different way. Like I'm able to use everything that she's done up until that point. And now I'm just adding to it and moving things around.
It just seems like a lot of manual work to get everyone.
I don't do them for all the students. Those I use only for kids that I meet with. So if they're on track, I think I've only had to do that for 3 kids that are on track because I can show them their transcript and that's enough because they're on track or they're ahead. I don't have to sit with that one. But any of them that are critical, I have those set up and I bring them in and I can say, okay, what classes do you need? And we can set it up that way.
Okay.
If there was a software program that would do that for me, yes, I would love that.
So there's 205 kids in our high school right now. About how many do you work with on a regular basis?
Right now, maybe 10 seniors that are in a position where they're at a deficit. And freshmen, I don't know yet because
You're just getting that info.
just getting that information. Juniors and sophomores is hard because we're in a weird spot. It's hard because you know that they need 7 credits next year, but it really is going to be a basis. Okay, now that I have their grades from last semester coming in, I can see, okay, how far behind are we? We have a couple sophomores that I think they have 2 credits from freshman year. And a lot of those are transfers. Let me make that clear. There's not a lot of them that are from in district that are behind by that great of a deficit. We have so many transfers that have come in and it's rough. You get their transcript and it's rough. And we've got a couple who, thankfully, we have WESD that's coming in and helping with us. They're migrant kids. And we didn't know that that was an option, that WESD did work with our migrant families until middle of January. So having that resource has been really great. So we have a senior and his little sister is a freshman, and the senior came in and we thought he was at a -16 deficit as a senior, and that's 2.5 years worth of classes. Beck was able to work through it, and we found some missing credits that hadn't come through and transferred over into our program. He's at a 12, but he wants to graduate, which is a complete difference from like having a kid who comes in, is at a 12, and we're like, hey, we got this work to do. And they're like, we don't want to do it. So
For that kid, is he able to use like Fridays to do work?
all of the kids are, I make sure that every kid that I meet with, I don't have it with me. I have a printout that has all the homework hours on it, and then grad coach and all the things that I can help with on the other side. So they know that Fridays, we have Friday school from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and teachers are there and available. We ask them to prearrange it so that the teachers have an idea of how many kids are coming in, which classes they are coming from. They also know that they can prearrange for after school and before school with specific teachers. I'm available. The library's available during lunch, and I know that the librarian's willing to help. So they have resources. It's getting them to go or to stay. That's where, it's hard.
Is transportation one of the hurdles that you deal with getting kids to stay and not getting home, or?
I'll say no, because a lot of them, it's too early. We don't want to wake up early. Oh, we want to go hang out with our friends after school. So
It's not, I can't get home if I don't ride the bus.
No, if that's the issue, then I'm not hearing about it. But a lot of the kids that I'm working with, it's just a lack of, or a hard one for me is I can't because I have to babysit my siblings. That one's been probably the hardest one just to hear, because that's a lot of responsibility. Even if they're a senior, that's a lot of responsibility when you've got full classes and you need to graduate. It's hard. Or if they're in sports, I really strongly feel that keeping kids involved in school with extracurriculars is going to be more of a positive for them in the end, even if it means that we're playing catch up with classes. I mean, it keeps them out of trouble. They don't have so much free time to go and cause mischief if we can have them active in those things. The good thing that we have as far as with sports and clubs, they can only be failing 2 classes. So they still have to be failing 5 classes or passing 5 classes in order to participate. Sometimes that's enough to keep them at least passing, to get them there. And I feel like the coaches are on board with trying to get them, you can fail 2 classes, but we would rather you just pass them all. And then you're not getting in a deficit, then you're not getting behind. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks, Kelly.
Anything
Any other
else?
questions? Anybody else? All right, thanks, Kelly. Thanks for the work you're doing. Thanks for reporting. Come back again. Look here at the stories. Okay, next up, special programs.
Good evening. Last year at this time, around this time, I came to you because we had an idea of adding an autism specialist to our team instead of contracting with the WESD, as well as using Building One to support a program that would help meet the needs of students who don't necessarily fit in that traditional schooling program. And so tonight, I have invited Autumn Greenwood, who's our autism specialist that we hired, as well as Leslie Oakes, who is our DLC Building 1 teacher. Unfortunately, Leslie is not able to be here, so I have some information, and then I'll turn it over to Autumn so she can show you a little bit about what she does as well. So currently in our DLC program, we have 7 students with a variety of needs. We have students who, 4 of those students spend half their day in the DLC Building 1 and half the day at Faulkner Chapman. So they range from 6th to 8th graders, and then the others are down here at the high school. And at those students that come from FCS, we provide core instruction, so they can hear the core instruction that they need for their grade level, as well as that peer-to-peer interaction of the same grade level peers. And then they come down here for more of the life skills programs that Leslie offers, which includes more vocational skills, not life skills, vocational skills. So they do cooking every day, or almost every day. On Mondays, they go to the fire station and help with the cleaning up the fire station. This last month, they've actually been doing basic first aid. Then on Wednesdays, they go to the Nazarene Church and help with the different odd jobs there. On Thursdays, they take orders from the high school teachers, and they go to Subway and pick up the order for Subway, and then they deliver those sandwiches or lunches for them. We also have offered some adaptive PE classes. We have one student who has an adaptive bike, as well as is in a wheelchair full time, so he's able to participate. They've also been able to go to take field trips. So they went bowling a couple weeks ago. They've had a puppeteer come in, help kind of teach the kids how to do some puppets. They've done the children's theater, and they are in the process of starting unified sports, which is connection with the special education or Special Olympics as well. And they have done some fundraisers, like over the Christmas break, Christmas time, they were making dog treats as part of their cooking class. And selling those as well. So it's a great program that has really benefited several students that wouldn't be able to get these experiences. And so with that, though, many of these students, not all of them, but many of these students also are living with autism. And so that's why Autumn can come up and share with you what she does, and then I can come back and if you have any questions.
I'm Autumn Greenwood. I'm your autism specialist and mother to 2 special ed groups. And I bring visuals because that's what autism does. So, and there's no kid names, so it's just things that you guys can look at that I either create or share with students. All right. So I have about 30 kids on my caseload who have a primary special education eligibility of autism. That includes SHAPA kids. So I cover SHAPA as well. I consult with special education teachers, case managers, instructional assistants, gen ed teachers, parents, and offer supports in the area of autism. I also sort of wear multiple hats, so pretty much anything special education. The supports I offer come in forms of writing goals, helping with data collection, creating visuals, as well as curriculum, and doing assessments for both initial eligibility. So those are some of our littles that have come to us or transferred in that need an eligibility, as well as kids who are on an IEP and have to have their eligibility done every 3 years. I also brought with me, because I've been doing this a very long time, the STAR curriculum, LINKS, SOLAR. So these are all autism-based curriculum. And I brought them with me and was able to get them for our district free this year and hope to be able to continue next year. Just means I have to go to a training and then I will be able to provide it. And the one that has the little monsters thing and kind of gives you a breakdown of the weekly activities, I think Samantha might have it, is part of the curriculum that is provided. And so that one is one that kind of covers basically K-8 for our more challenged learners. I also use programs like Boardmaker to make the visuals, schedules, and social stories for our students. I'm also in the process of working with Ms. Love and some other teachers up at FCS to create some regulation stations. I'm hoping to have something that we can put together so that not necessarily our kiddos with just autism, but those that have behavior or just need a break to be able to regulate themselves and return to the classroom successfully. I also meet with gen ed teachers to problem solve, offer supports for those kids that are in gen ed classes. And I meet with students who needs those social skills supports and collaborate with parents as well. So if they need a specific visual or a social story or something like that for home that translates to school, I do that. Let's see here. I'm able to act as district rep, and therefore I free up Dory and Missy and Pat so that they can attend other things because I'm able to be in that role. And I have also been a one-on-one support and a special education sub when we didn't have anybody. So, like I said, I wear multiple hats, and I've been in special education for 20 plus years and absolutely love it. And I love that I'm finally able to work in the area that I live and with my local community. And then I do support building one as well. Any questions?
We're glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
More of a comment. It was fun because Dory, Samantha, and I went to the building and got to see people making, the students making pancakes. And then I was playing with these little frisbee things that had different patterns, so that was kind of fun.
The texture.
Yeah, the texture.
Yes, we love the
Stuff, so that was fun.
It's like, I can hang out in here.
I was like, oh, I love it.
Feeling everything.
Yep. And so offering the supports, I mean, I'm also FCS, high school, everywhere. So building one, being able to help those kids with visuals that will aid them in job skills. So in that cooking realm, these are the steps we do, working with our high school students on, okay, what do you want to be when you're done with high school? How can we support that transition? And supporting parents as well.
Thank you.
All right, I love the book with the schedule. I think they gave me like a app that does this for older kids. Anything like that?
I haven't, maybe I need to work on that.
Yeah.
But I like doing this because it creates independence for our students. So my biggest thing when I'm working with students and parents is that we want less talking so that a student is able to be independent in school. They can look through their schedule. I mean, as an adult, you're gonna go like, okay, what's on my schedule today? What am I working for, a paycheck? So that's the key to this.
I will gather stuff.
You're welcome. Like I said, I love being here.
Thank you for being here. I feel like you were the missing link.
The all fed person.
All right, next we'll go to our superintendent report.
All right.
Dory.
Oh, good evening. I was asked last month to go ahead and talk about our state testing. So I've loaded up 3 years. The data is not good. And I want to talk about the approach for these online tests for language arts and math. The state has waived the high school test, so now we're only testing grades 3 through 8. And it can take anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, depending upon how students go through it. And oftentimes the students simply do not care and they will click their way through it. It is not an accurate measure. And as the term that I've learned from students, this is our lagging data that this has happened. And what I would like to do is focus on the data that we have, which is very different of our district assessments for math and language arts. You do see the improvement for grades 3 through 8 of regular attenders that have been reported. And I know that an effort has really been made at Faulkner Chapman that kids attend regularly and tracking that. The at-a-glance report card for the high school does look different because there is not a state assessment. And one of the things that really also impacts our state data is the level of mobility. So we have a lot of students that come and go. And Kelly had mentioned that about students that enter the high school with a credit deficit. We know we have students that just transfer back and forth between Sheridan and Willamina. And every time they transfer, they could be missing days of instruction. We have families that attendance is very much a struggle for regular attendance. And they would come close to that 10-day drop, come back for a couple days. And FCS has a team that just works on the parent communication side and what can we do to support those families so that students are here. The state no longer reports to us our mobility rate. And I know several years ago, the state would provide that data and Sheridan was about close to 30% mobility rate. I have no idea where we're at right now. But you'll see from the high school data, the on track, you talked about, Kelly mentioned about, staying on track for graduation. So each group, the clock starts ticking as when they enter as a 9th grader. And if they move elsewhere or if they leave and they do not, say they decide to go for their GED, but we don't know that, it counts as a dropout for us. We really have to track down where did they go? Did they go into a homeschool situation? Where did they transfer? Because it's based on the system that we get the records requests. The other struggle we're having with student records, and especially like with transcripts and keeping up with things, is some of our students move so quickly, the transcripts are not keeping up. So they might be someplace for maybe 2 weeks and then they move to another district for a couple of weeks. Well, the previous school is working on the first records request and it takes a while for those to get caught up. You see the on-time graduation, that's a cohort data of students that for the school year, they started as 9th grade and then the 5-year completion. So they do have that 5th year to come back and finish after graduation. We do try to get them to finish on time, but there are some students that will take the time over the summer after graduation or even the next year to finish up the necessary credits. And we are challenging, we are figuring out the state why we end up with these dips and what is going on with our data. When all of this gets reported, there is a window of time called validation. And the state will give us a notification. It's usually mid-August to mid-September. We have time to go in and validate the data, all the reports. And we are learning that. It's not something that I have ever done. I trusted that the data was accurate. I really have learned from Jessie Watson at Shapa that she goes in and hand checks like every student. And we're starting to do that. We're just starting to block out time in August so that we clean up our data so it is accurate. Because Mr. Schrader and I, we've talked through this and it's like, where are these numbers coming and why do we have that 55% there? And then the next year we've got 95%. So that is our at-a-glance data for the 3 years. These are published and made live every fall based on the previous year. So then you're talking, it could be a whole different group of students with our mobility rate.
At Faulkner Chapman, you say that's a 3-hour test they have to take and they just click through it. Does it have to be all done in one day? Can
No.
they do like an hour one day and an
Yep.
hour the next day?
We break it up into segments,
Yeah.
but a lot of it has to do with motivation.
Yeah.
It's not checking their skills and knowledge, it's how motivated they are. Missy, would you like to add anything to that?
And some of them, and Mr. Delotti and I, we have a big thing that we're trying to get them motivated to do. Like they get to shave Mr. Delotti's beard. If they get the most rows, they get to dye my hair. So we're trying to get that motivation going. But some of these tests are very, very hard for these kids, especially for kids on who have IEPs, they're not reading at a third grade level, and we know that, but they still have to take that test. And so like for those students that we do 10 questions at a time. And then we stop it because it's very labor intensive for them. And so taking those numbers, and then there's other ones that, try their hardest, but they're just not quite there yet. So, I mean, the test, I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. And I agree with Dory that looking at our growth that Mr. Galati presents to you guys every 3 times a year is a better indication of where students are at than this one. It's just one time a year. And if a kid's having a bad day, that he's not gonna do well on that test.
Also, the students that do take a long time, or if they have attendance issues, it will time out.
Yeah, you
eventually.
have 20 days, from the time you start that test, you have like a 15 to 20 day timeline to do that test. And if you've missed a lot of that time, then it's timed you out and it doesn't count.
Yeah,
So
so
there's
we,
a lot of, yeah.
there's a lot of work that goes into
factors.
setting it up and the testing schedule and going in groups. But if you think about all the students in grades 3 through 8, all take this test. It's both of them, both tests.
Yep.
It takes a lot of coordination.
And you have 5th and 8th graders also have science tests.
Yes.
So you have that other test as well that they have to take. And so, you're really looking at probably 3 to 4 weeks of no instruction because we have to do these tests.
So what's the rationality from the state for something like this? Why do they do it this way?
Right, I keep hearing that they're gonna overhaul it. I keep hearing that they're gonna change the process. I mean, in my career, well, even since the early 2000s, we've been through just varied renderings. It used to be that students had 3 opportunities to take it, and as soon as they passed it, they were done. Well, that was really motivational because kids would celebrate that, hey, I passed it, I'm done. And then other kids were like, well, I'll take it again to see if I can raise my score. And that was an environment where it wasn't so taxing. We're still dealing with kids that missed 18 months of instruction with the online. But I keep hearing from the state that they're going to change it up. There used to be like a way that you can practice and have kids practice how to do it.
Why don't they just let you do it the way the school should do it on your own?
Yeah.
And just forget about it, make it simple.
Mhm. Well, and I would, we've talked about our data and what it's going to be forward facing, meaning to the public. I would rather show the growth that we have made with our STAR testing because our students and it's doesn't take them very long, but it is a good measure for reading and math that they take 3 times a year at their grade level. And we're able to track the growth that they're making. And I think, down the road for whether it be summer and we take a deep dive into our data for like 2 years. And one of the things that we are working to do is to pull out the mobility and just look at the kids who are with us. Like Kelly said, the kids who have been with us for years are doing really well. A lot of it does have to do with our high mobility. So
Do we have to have these kids come into the district if they want to move here?
Yes. The only thing that we could do is if we had such a huge number of students, you can advertise that you've closed a grade level. And I did hear I think, like McMinnville closed a grade level or they closed the high school to transfers because they felt like we've reached our class size. This is
Like
all
when
that we can
COVID
do.
happened, some of the online schools had to do that because they were
Yes.
full.
Yep, there's only a certain percentage, but you have to advertise. I think a couple of years ago, like Willamina closed first grade. They had a high number of first graders and they advertised, we're not taking any more first graders.
The board has to agree in spring for the next following year.
Yeah, all based on enrollment. Okay, good discussion, thank you. An update on Barbara Roberts. House Bill 3552, I do have a copy of this that I will send out to you so you can read the bill. We have now communication going out in the next several days. I will be, I have a list of contacts that I will be sending information out about the bill. This is at the state legislature right now. You can go into the bill tracker. It falls under workforce development, not K-12 education. So we're not competing against K-12 money. The bill was put forward through the state network of education service districts in that it would flow through the ESDs. And then Representative Hudson, I was told, is chair of the workforce committee and is the key person to pushing this through process. And right now they're collecting letters of support. So I was going to send out a draft letter for the Sheridan School Board. If you'd like to submit a letter of support, I have a whole list of people that I will be contacting requesting letters of support. It's just that time of year again that we need to send in the support for this bill to get it through. Potentially, what they have designed is that the ESDs would be the hub for the funding to come through, and that shovel-ready projects like Barbara Roberts could request $10 million. And
that'd be for the building?
that would be the building. The bill is written for construction and operational costs. So again, I will send the bill out to you. You can preview it. When things go through the state legislature, it takes many, many different renderings as they change language and work to improve it.
Is there any progress on the gravel?
None.
So we're not doing anything out there?
Not right now, we are not. So we do have a fire tower that is to be delivered, and we will be storing that.
Is that gonna go up right away, or are we just gonna?
We're gonna wait because
Okay.
of the construction. We felt like we just really wanted to get the construction.
Where will we store that?
They have worked it out, so part of it would be in the peak booth. And then they had talked to, some of it, a lot of it can be out in the weather, and it will be on the property. So Remick is working on that. So we have some new flyers. Abisha Stone with SEDCOR continues to host meetings and meet with potential contributors. Craig Brockett, this last week submitted 2 reports for the manufacturing grant. We got a fire tower being delivered February 24th, and we did receive 2 grants, Spirit Mountain and Ford Family Foundation. So it was great to receive those grants. I did provide an enrollment report, just to look at where we were in October and where we're at for February. Mr. Galati told me this last week, well, we just registered 8 kids.
Oh my gosh.
We didn't know how many we had dropped. This again is the mobility, is that we have families come in. So you see there the difference from October to February when the data was pulled. The data for February was pulled just last week.
Is there a reason you used October instead of September?
Because we end up having to, it takes that long to use, to get through all the drops and
The
wait
10-day
for
drop.
record requests.
Mm-hmm.
So September is really cleaning up. I looked at September and I felt like, well, October really is the better measure to use.
Yeah, I noticed September number was drastically different and then it stabilized. So, I mean, it moves a little, but not as much.
Yeah, because it's by the time we have our September board meeting that it has to be reported. So we really don't have clean data until September 30th. So it gets reported as October. Good question. And then the high school and middle school and the high school numbers. Last summer, Pat had a board presentation where he showed the trend of enrollment for Sheridan High School. It has been on a steady decline. We've been anywhere around 215 to 220. And then we have the decline, and then we bump up a little bit, and then we decline. All right. Comments or questions on any of that?
All right,
Okay, I have
here,
one more
done.
thing.
Up, go ahead, Dory, not done yet.
Not done yet. All right. Regarding the incident that occurred, multiple incidences that occurred last Friday night, I wanted to read a statement to the board, to the public, and then post this and publicize the statement. So I'm just going to go ahead and read it. Sheridan School District's 5-year goals include the following: promote a culture of high expectations from the entire community, build community support through transparency, communication, and engagement. On Friday, February 14th, several incidents occurred at Sheridan High School that show we have work to do in order to achieve both of these goals. We do not currently have a culture of high expectations within our schools or our community, and we need to build better internal and external support for all our programs. Policy ACB, every student belongs, states all students are entitled to a high-quality educational experience, free from discrimination or harassment. The policy goes on, all employees are entitled to work in an environment that is free from discrimination or harassment. And all visitors are entitled to participate in a school or educational environment that is free from discrimination or harassment based on perceived race, color, religion, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability, or national origin. We ask our students to be constantly learning from new experiences. And as a district, we must demonstrate the same behavior and learn from these events. After many conversations with students, coaches, community members, and administrators from both schools, we have a better understanding of the gaps that existed in our approach to maintaining an environment free from discrimination and harassment. Effective immediately, we will be introducing on-duty staff before events so that everyone is aware who is available should an incident need to be reported. We are improving our communication regarding expectations for students, staff, and guests, and our training staff to better address inappropriate behavior. Expectations for coaching staff and students, including grounds for potential removal from these roles, are also being addressed. Over the past weekend and in the coming weeks, we are working to be as transparent as possible with our larger community with regards to steps we are taking to resolve the gaps we have identified and to convey our sincere apologies to those who have been impacted. Sheridan community, we ask for your support as we team together and build a culture that allows for learning and growth. Our schools and community events must be a place where everyone feels safe to learn, play, work, and visit. We are absolutely committed to this and will continue to educate ourselves and make changes based on what we learn in order to achieve a welcome and safe environment for our students, staff, and the community. Thank you.
It's very well written.
Well said. Yeah.
How do we get that to our community?
This will be in the bulletin board. We're going to put it on the Facebook page, and it will be also on our website.
Thank you.
And I offered to Rotary today, I would not read it until I read it to the board, but I offered that I would also send it out to Rotary and chamber groups so that we will get that out.
And I appreciate the updates on Facebook about the incident because it's.
I think the community definitely.
Thank you.
Is that going to go on Facebook too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else for Dory? Going once, going twice. All right, let's take a look in our new and unfinished business section. I'm sorry, I skipped
That's
right
all
over the
right.
fifth one. That was just, I scrolled down too far. Yeah. All right.
I got it queued up for you here.
Well,
Okay,
we
go ahead,
can't
Karen.
skip over, that I have an action item for the resolution to establish those two funds that Dory talked about in her report, the Spirit Mountain and the Ford Family Foundation. The Spirit Mountain one is towards the fire tower, I think, for like installation of the fire tower. And then the Ford Family one is for infrastructure support. So
Critical needs,
critical needs.
communication, advertising.
So, and we have negotiations with the classified union and then opening for financials with the licensed union. So I would like to get started on the budget so we can have some numbers to go into that. And then I still have to do some ODE reports for SPED, high cost disability and excess costs. So never dull moment.
When did the negotiations start?
I want to say the third week in March. I made a note to get our district committee together.
Is that me, Scott, and Samantha?
Yes.
It only used to be two of you,
Okay.
so the two of you want to do it.
I was gonna say, I will sit out if you want.
Negotiation.
I couldn't do the shop one.
No, because that one was,
I can't do the shop
Yeah.
one. So.
Right, so between the
Okay.
three of you.
We'll work
we
it
just
out.
really need two of you on the committee.
Okay.
So.
We'll
you guys
figure
can
it out.
decide.
Okay, any questions? Cameron,
I
packet there?
had a question on that first page. No, was it second technically? The red in there?
The red at the bottom,
Yeah.
yes. So basically what that is saying is it's hard to explain. So that negative number is if we say, okay, we spend all of our money, everything is exactly how it is now with what we spent so far, and if our encumbrances come out exactly right. And this includes, we're saying, okay, we need $1 million ending fund balance. So if we had that, we're still gonna be negative $861,000, and our ending fund balance will only be $138,805. So
And what is the likelihood that it will play out how we have it?
it's, I like to say it's a good estimate, but I do my best. I go through and every time I run payroll, then I rerun the encumbrances. And so that just basically makes sure everybody's salary is in there, most of the benefits, which, can change sometimes. And then we got for SPED, our out of district placements for our SPED services, we've got money in the budget, but we just got, 4 contracts or something today?
With Dayton.
We got 3 from Dayton and Yamhill Carlton.
Oh.
And it was like $100,000 we have to do a half-year payment. So it's it's in the budget, so it would be in the budget column, but once we put those POs in, then it's gonna encumber them. So.
Is what I'm hearing that we will be negative if everything plays out the way it's calculated, what you're saying, that generally speaking, it does play out this, how you have it laid out? Sorry for the tough question. I'm just seeing red and I'm like,
It always surprises me, when I finish up with June payroll. And it's I thought everything was in there encumbered correctly, and then some things will be different. So I got, $50,000 for American Fidelity, whatever. And then I'll do all the payrolls and we only spent 40,000. So we do our best, but.
We also really don't know the money coming in from the state.
Oh, there's also that.
So that
Because-
is,
Yeah, because the budget amount is still based on 23-24 estimates for enrollment. And so once ODE says, oh, we've kind of trued up your numbers, then hopefully we'll get more money from the state, and that will help balance everything out.
okay,
it is good to watch this,
Yes.
and we are watching it,
okay.
definitely, of where we're going to land, but there are still some unknowns
Mhm.
coming in with our fluctuation of payroll costs and not knowing what we're gonna get from the state.
And our facilities,
So it means we won't have $1 million in our ending.
We will not,
we will have 138,000.
if
Which
this
is a
plays
lot
out.
less than $1 million.
Yes.
Laws.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm that number
It's very
doesn't, when then we
So
have
is that
contract
what's
negotiations
supposed to be
and.
in reserve?
Right,
Is
we
that
don't
what
have
you're telling me?
to negotiate anything right now.
But we don't know what the budget will be for next year.
Correct.
Right.
That's what we're waiting to find out and to get the estimates on the state school fund and what the increase will be from the governor's proposal.
When do we find out roughly?
Well, it changes like a million times before it
It's like
actually
the
gets to
15th of
us.
every month it changes.
Oh, so you're talking about
it's-
a monthly payment that changes now?
I usually end up with like 9 different estimates.
Mhm.
And like towards the end of the year, they start coming in quicker. Like I think I can get.
Can you just ask
3.
them to send it in at a certain date
We live.
if you want to get
If it only
paid?
went that way.
No, it's,
Could you just tell me?
something has to go and like they recalculate like for all the schools. I mean, when I go to print our estimate, I'm like page 199. Usually we're at the bottom. So there's like 199 things they have to calculate. And so they don't recalculate every month, but they do, we should be getting one pretty soon that is based on actual like second quarter ADM. So it's very, and then the other thing is that we don't know what will happen when they finally true up 23, 24, because that's when we get the May adjustment. So we might get, $50,000 extra then.
Where's the this overspend in salaries? Like, what is that 245, the 245,000?
That's me not having an accurate budget. So if like in our budgeting, if I had an accurate budget, in a perfect world, they would come out like really close to 0. But also we don't know, we hired somebody who's at the top of the scale and, maybe I budgeted at middle range.
Because I mean, if I remember correctly, when we did budgeting last time, it was a question that I asked about like, why is the salary like so high? And it was like, oh, we're budgeting for like the top-ish, mid-top.
It's
I mean, I guess.
usually I try to hit like mid, but kind of low mid, but I mean, and then the other thing, like for all the benefits and stuff, we have no idea what selections people are going to make for insurance. And we don't know that until October.
Well, and we didn't know when we budgeted what our transportation costs were gonna be.
And our
And they skyrocketed.
sub costs.
And sub costs. Karen, on the 350,000 for purchase services, is that encumbered? Is that with encumbrances, knowing that, okay, this is about how much we spend every month for purchase services?
Yeah, so there's money sitting in the budget that hasn't been encumbered yet. So this is where the like $100,000 for our out of district placements. So when Emily gets POs put in and it encumbers, that number, that 350,000 will go down to 250,000 because the encumbrances will go up by 100,000. So it's just.
Okay. So the purchase services would include what we just got today from other districts.
And it's basically, all that balance is saying is, this is the difference between what we budgeted and what we spent so far and what's encumbered. So if, I moved $350,000 out of the 300 line into the 100 line, then, my budget would have been better. But it's just.
There's way too many unknowns.
Yeah.
Well, the ultimate thing is here is how many kids we have at the school district, that's how much money we have.
Yes.
So it's as simple as that. What this is going to be. We better not be going anything over that or staying under it. And then you might, there might be a time you're going to have to start cuts.
Yes.
Which is scary.
Well, and then we've got to figure out how to get that $1 million fund refilled. So if we're spending it down this year, we can't leave ourselves like that because we can't have another year like that. So in our budget, we've got to have the plan because isn't it, I don't know, is it policy or just our wish?
It's a policy.
So-
It's like 6% or 10% or whatever it was.
The policy says 1 million.
1 million is what I
We
remember.
set that at one time. We got down to this one time before.
Okay.
And it
Did
was,
you have a plan to rebuild it the next year?
no, you did it gradually.
Yeah,
Did
it
it
usually
gradually.
wouldn't happen overnight,
Yeah.
but it's dangerous.
But it's also like, we've been spending a lot of money on our facilities.
Mhm.
And it's like I say, we're trying to prevent a catastrophe. And so, maybe we don't have $1 million, but we also don't have to spend $500,000 unexpectedly on something. So it's,
Mhm. Your November board report, you listed off 3 or 4 years of everything we spent on facilities, and it was close to 400,000 or 350,000 on facilities.
and I'm not worried yet. This doesn't concern me yet, but I'm waiting for the next, good 24, 25 estimate from ODE to see where we are. And then we'll see what we need to do to move forward.
So we can spend more time in our March board meeting going through this
That's a good idea.
and see where we land. We should know more by then before we go into budget.
I think I'm just nervous because of everything
Yes.
going on everywhere else.
It is, but I was also looking at, okay.
Right, if there's other avenues that we lose funding on,
Yeah.
there goes the rest of our money.
And in 2 years, we know that there's gonna be
Because what
more
we
issues
did-
with PERS. So that's the other thing we're keeping an eye on.
Oh, yeah, PERS rates are going up.
In 2 years.
In 2 years, we're gonna get hit with PERS probably, is what we're estimating because of the site account and information. It is a very, very complicated formula.
Well, I thought it was going up about 5%.
It varies from district to district.
Yeah.
Gladstone was hit with an 18% increase.
Oh,
So there are many, many districts looking at red.
12% increases, but we're not in that position. We're good for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be an interesting budget committee season this spring.
yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, it will.
We should probably plan for extra meetings.
Well, and
too.
I'm trying to figure out a better format for the budget, because it's too unwieldy, so. Adding it to my list.
All right. Well, we'll keep talking about that in March. We can all dig into it a little bit and bring back more things. to talk about. But okay. Speaking of March, now we can move into new and unfinished business for the March and April work sessions. Can you remind me of the dates? No, this isn't March.
March 5th, I believe. It's the first Wednesday of the month, so it's March
Okay.
5th and April 2nd.
April 2nd. And we don't have subjects prepared for those.
No,
Correct.
we set in the board calendar just to have monthly work sessions so that people knew if we needed it, we could have it. If we didn't need it, we could cancel it. If we needed to have some other special meeting, we could certainly do that.
Okay. So March 5th is wide open for a work session that we've scheduled, because we do one every month in our calendars. We have a lot of things we could talk about. We could not have one if we don't want to. We also have the other thing under new and unfinished business is superintendent evaluation in March, which usually turns into a pretty long night, pretty long executive session. We could take our work session and we could do Jordan's evaluation that night instead. As the work session time, we'd have to change it to a district meeting, so it wouldn't be a work session. And we would have a meeting technically, just like this. We'd go into exec session and we could go through our packets, do our scoring, do a review of Dory. And then I think the March agenda is going to have enough on it that it's going to fill the night anyway. So that's an idea. If people want to talk about anything else, glad to entertain any other suggestions or thoughts on that.
I like that idea to do the evaluation.
So I have a regular meeting, March 5th. Just call it. Do we have to call a special board?
It would be
meeting for that?
called a
It's out of-
special board meeting.
it's out of band, yeah.
Executive session.
Can we add, we have to specifically advertise that's for
Mhm.
employment. And I just want to start like, oh my gosh, the board's having a special meeting.
No, we wouldn't.
It starts
we wouldn't-
rumors.
we would
It
say
does. It
executive
literally
session,
does. Yeah.
Superintendent evaluation.
Yep.
We
Okay.
could just label it that.
I think that's great. Yeah, we don't have to like blast it out everywhere, but I think
Yeah.
it should be advertised that way, so. All right, is everybody good with that? Take care of both of our unfinished business items in one swoop there. In preparation for that, I found my red notebook. I don't know if everybody still has these anymore that
I need,
Samantha did last year. Okay, it's got the documentation in there. It's got those 8 buckets of things that we're gonna, the more we do beforehand, the smoother it goes for everybody. So you don't have to spend a half hour.
Well, you know-
and everything, so.
I think it was last month or the month before I had it did it because I thought that's what we were gonna do.
You were leading the way.
Now you
You're
gotta go back and
done.
review it.
You're-
See, I have to go back and review it.
Yeah,
That would be great.
everybody follow Larry's
Dory,
example.
can you send the link to that? It's just the superintendent evaluation book
Yes.
to you, so you. can
yeah,
have it.
thank you.
I brought it.
I just
up with
sent
copy
it
of
off.
if you want.
I brought mine
Yes.
and now I can't find my binder.
Yeah, no worries. Okay. We'll make sure Ruby's copy that. You're good. Mike, you got
It's all
copy.
online too. You can find everything.
Okay. And we have time, we have a couple weeks to think about things too. So just like in the past, try to think of things that we can give meaningful suggestions to Dory for suggestions, improvements, areas we're doing great in, areas we're working. Yeah, try to think of those categories. And when we show up on the 5th, we'll get right to it and follow through, take care of it.
So just to clarify, you want us to score her before we come to the meeting, write down any questions, concerns we have.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, take all the time then, so when we get together, we don't need to race through it. But
Right.
we also don't need to say, okay, what's all of our.
But then we're not deciding, we've got them and we're moving forward. Got it.
Try to come a little further. All right, next up, let's go into action items. First item there is the 25-27 local service plan resolution for the Willamette Education System. Pretty standard renewal for everything that WSD does for us. Maybe lots of sped supports, lots of technology supports, admin services. You can read through the deal in your packets. So to continue this for the next couple of years, we would need motion to start.
I move to accept the LSP resolution 25-05 as presented.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Samantha and seconded by Mike to accept the 25-27 LSP resolution. Jen, can you call the vote for us, please?
Aye.
Larry,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
Scott.
Aye. All right, motion passes 5-0. Moving on to the next item. Resolution 2504 to establish the 2 funds that Karen talked about earlier, 7282 for the Spirit Mountain Community Fund grant to the fire tower and the Ford Family Foundation grant for the infrastructure support. So these are some housekeeping things we need to do to be able to receive those grants and pay them out. Just like the last one, we need a motion. Move forward.
I move to accept resolution 25-04, establish funds 267 and 282 as presented.
I second.
Okay, been moved by Samantha, seconded by Ruby. Jen, could you call roll for us?
Aye.
Larry,
Aye.
Samantha,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
Scott.
Aye. Okay, the motion passes 5-0. And next up, we have the 25-26 calendar. Always an interesting one. You want to take a minute to review that in your packet. Looks like we got the last 2 weeks in December for Christmas break here. A little bit of January. I guess before we discuss it, do we have a motion?
I motion to approve the 2025-2026 calendar.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved by Ruby, seconded by Samantha, that we accept the 25-26 calendar. Do we have any further discussion on the calendar?
I was just curious if there was any major changes on it.
No, other than we kept moving around when we would have fall conferences. And that was really it. And this calendar follows the collective bargaining agreement for the licensed teachers and meets those requirements.
So going to a 4-day school week, so we're only going to be getting one calendar per suggested to us, where we had before, we had 1 or 2 or 3 we could have picked.
Oh,
from.
really? Oh, I didn't know. Well, we presented to the district leadership team several copies. And then we got feedback from the staff, but we've only just presented one calendar to the board.
That's the one that they recommended?
Yep, it's been vetted through staff.
Yeah, I think we used to see a few choices, and when you asked, hey, did staff do this? And then there was some back and forth, but we started a little earlier too.
Yeah, it's nice getting this early, yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that that was even a process. My experience has always been that it's
It seems easier to have better.
staff working through it,
So too, so we have to have some.
Karen working through it, Celine Fry looking through it, and he would just pass it to
Counting all the
everybody.
days, making sure there's enough days.
Yep,
There's enough room for snow days and that kind of stuff.
yes, they checked instructional minutes. We'll go through our process to make sure.
Okay, any more questions or discussions about this item? If not, yeah, you go ahead and call a vote for us, please.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes 5-0, and we have the 25. Okay, next up, we have contract renewals, personal recommendations that need renewed next year. You can check through that in your packet, all the recommendations in there, couple of retirements. Do we have a motion for this item?
I move to accept the renew/non-renew as presented.
All right, do we have a second?
A second.
Okay, it's been moved by Samantha, seconded by Ruby to accept the 25-26 renewal, non-renewal recommendation list. So any other questions or discussion?
I have a question.
Okay.
I do too, maybe.
Go ahead, Larry, you go
Keith
first.
Brock
Keith Brock.
was listed as a retirement on Pat's report, but he's also on number 8, recommended 2-year license contract for 24-25 and 25-26.
Okay, well, this is the official document. He is not officially retired.
Okay, so Pat just jumped a
Yes.
little early. Okay,
Yes.
that's what we were,
Yep.
I was
Good
like,
catch. Thank
not
you.
correlating.
Oh, yeah, because
This is a good
Yes,
catch.
it's highlighted.
It's highlighted. Good job. No, this is the document that we went through over the last week.
Okay. So we're voting on the document in front of us.
Yes, you're not voting on a board report. This is the
Things can still
document.
change.
Yeah.
It's February.
As
People
of-
Right.
change their minds and whatnot, so.
The official.
Yeah.
Okay, you have the same question, Samantha.
Yeah, we have the same
Wait a minute,
exact
same
question.
question.
Okay, any other questions, comments on this item? All right, let's go to the vote. Go ahead, Jen.
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay, motion passes 5-0. Next up, we have a resolution for our classified employee appreciation week.
All right, this is coming up.
Go ahead and read it through for us, there, Dory.
Classified Appreciation Week is celebrated every year during the first full week of March. In 2025, it will be observed March 3rd through the 7th in Oregon. Whereas the education of youth is essential to the future of our community, state, country, world, and whereas classified employees are the backbone of our public education system. And whereas classified employees work directly with students, educators, parents, volunteers, business partners, and community members. And whereas classified employees support the smooth operation of offices, the safety and maintenance of our buildings and property, and the safe transportation, healthy nutrition, and direct instruction of students. And whereas our community depends upon and trusts classified employees to serve students. And whereas classified employees with their diverse talents and true dedication nurture students throughout the school year. Now therefore be it resolved that the Sheridan School Board of Directors proclaim March 4th through the 8th, oh my goodness, 2025 to be the Classified Employee Appreciation Week. And be it further resolved that the Sheridan School Board of Directors strongly encourage all members of our community to join the observance, recognizing the dedication and hard work of these individuals. Adopted the 19th day of February 2025.
All right, well, we
So
appreciate
with the
your
correction,
Can we add another correction?
yes,
Would it be March 3rd through the 7th? Monday, the 3rd?
it would be Monday the 3rd, correct? March 3rd through the 7th. Thank you.
So it's
Those
correct on
two
the
corrections.
top, but
Yes.
not the bottom right. Yeah. Okay. We can appreciate our classified employees last year, and this year, in the same resolution.
Both years.
For that kind. If we did it for next year, we'd be year ahead, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so if anybody would like to propose that we accept this, or make a motion, we accept the resolution with corrections.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved by Samantha and seconded by Ruby to approve the resolution for Classified Employee Appreciation Week. Any other questions or comments? Anyone? All right, Jen, go ahead and take roll for us, please.
All right.
Larry,
Aye.
Samantha,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
Scott.
Aye. Okay, clearly it passes 5-0, and thanks to all of our classified employees who may be here tonight or watching online or watching the recording. We all appreciate you. Okay, our last item on here tonight is the Sheridan School District election resolution.
So this document has been prepared by the attorneys through the work of with recommendation from our bond committee. And you see the addendum there of the projects. This information goes into cell number 308 for the county and will be submitted to put a bond on the May ballot for $6 million.
All right, before we get to any questions or discussion, we need a motion.
You want questions or discussion?
Well,
we gotta vote.
Motion.
We gotta move to put it on the floor. for discussion.
Okay.
Moving forward, yeah.
I motion to approve resolution number 25-06 as presented.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved by Ruby and seconded by Samantha to approve resolution number 25-06. And I'll now ask if there are any questions or comments on the resolution.
Is there a fee to file this with the county, like to get on a ballot? We have to pay a fee.
No.
You know, this is, I've been thinking about this a lot, and the price is right, but everybody I talk to says it's the wrong time. That's what I'm getting. They said, there was one person who said, well, what did you do? What did we get for the last time you passed a bond? I'm going, I don't know.
So at the meeting that we had at the fire department, the last one meeting,
Right.
Molly had paper that explained everything, what happened in that
I
bond.
remember that.
Well, when I read through all of that, we did all those things on that list. And so if you read through that paper.
So was that the one for the $2.8 million bond, or was it the one, because we only had 3 bonds? And one of those bonds, that big bond, was a refinancing of our loan, so it gave us
Mhm.
$5 million or $2 million? $2 million.
The last one, I believe, was when all the families in the high school, the stadium roof was redone, the stadium lights were redone. If you read through that list that Molly had,
we did all those things that were on.
Yeah, that was the refinance when we did all the windows and everything.
That's refinance, but what was the $2.8 million one?
The original bond was 8.5 million.
That
To
was,
build Faulkner
that
Shop.
was Faulkner.
And then we waited, 10 or 15 years later, then we refinanced that. That's when we got the $2 million to do the windows
Oh,
out there.
okay.
We got a better rate, so we sold the bond for a better rate and made. $2
Well,
million.
didn't we go out for a bond after that?
Well, we've gone for the two previous ones to this one.
They failed,
I
yeah.
don't think we did any other after we refinanced that. We haven't done a bond.
So bond hasn't been passed in this district since FCS was built. Is that what I'm hearing? Do you know if that's true?
Yes, yeah, kind of.
I think you're right. I think that was the last bond.
When we refinanced, they took that as a
Refinancing
bond,
technically
and we
was
had
probably
to
a
vote
bond.
on that. It went out as a bond.
Wasn't that in like 2014?
I can't remember what year it was.
It was like-
About then,
When
yeah.
you refinanced it, it went out as a bond.
Yeah,
So it got voted on.
everybody's got to vote on it. You treat it as a bond. You have to still do this statement and everything, what you're doing, and explain that it is a refinancing for a lower rate. And
But it wasn't
we sat around here that night. I mean, they had till midnight for somebody to buy the bond. Nobody bought it till 11:45.
Oh my gosh.
Because we were sweating, because if nobody bought the bond, then we're stuck
Then it
with it. We spent all the money and time on that. Finally, somebody bought it at 11:45 that night.
Wow.
Okay, I found the document with the bond history.
Okay.
November 2003, it's hard to read this on my phone, 8.5 million. November 2013, asked to allow the school district to recapture money saved from the refinancing the bond to complete some major maintenance issues. Taxpayers will not see an increase in the bond rates. So this was the language that was in there. And then there was a replacement of Sheridan High School classroom heating system, safety and access doors for both the high school and Faulkner, a remodel of the high school restrooms, and a plumbing upgrade, window replacement at the high school, replacement of the heating system in the old gym. And then May 2014, the same ask. I don't know if that meant that that went to the voters. November 2022 was when we tried for the 16 million. And then May 2023, we tried for the 16 million. So the last one we passed was the restructuring of funds, and that was in November 2013. Prior to that was the 2003. So those are the only two.
Okay.
And Steve would have done the campaign for, Steve superintendent at the time, for the 2013.
Mm-hmm.
Was the 2003 one, what time of the year was that?
That was in November.
Also November?
Yep,
Both.
these are both November.
Okay, do we have any other comments or
You know,
discussions that we want to keep?
See, I'm looking at, we're 9 weeks away from the election, and we don't even have a PAC yet.
There are people interested in forming that, and I had conversations.
So I think Molly's down with it.
Yeah, Jared Sherwood is interested in leading that, and there were a few others from that meeting.
I don't think legally we can form a PAC until we're moving forward, correct?
But it's 9 or 10 weeks till the election.
Yeah.
We have time to do this.
That I'm not sure about. I think there could have been some work done in the background, but no, they cannot actively campaign until this is approved.
Right.
I need to stand corrected on reading this because now I'm scrolling across. 2013 in November, it failed
I was gonna say, could I
by
see
57 votes.
May
And then the
2014?
same ask passed, and that was in May 2014.
Okay, so
So
the
the-
very following one.
Yep, so the request, November 2013 failed. The same request with the voters, May 2014, and then that one passed.
That's because November, that's when everybody gets your tax bills, you don't want to vote. in November.
Well, it only
Well, that's what they
lost-
say, but the 2003 one passed in November,
But
so.
that was a little bit different, though. We had a building, a school burned down, so everybody knew we needed it. So.
Kind of helps.
Does help.
The first time that one was tried for the restructuring, it lost by 57 votes. So that was close, and then they went out again in May.
Did the
Say what they won by.
FCS one
Because I think
fail?
that second one that we won by was the highest percentage in the state that we won that one by the second time? we voted?
I don't have that data.
Okay, and,
You know, back farther.
I think it was presented differently
Yeah,
than what it went out the first time.
Well, we're doing the same thing. We're presenting differently.
And only going for 6 million. And we have a $6 million awesome grant that should the board approve this resolution, I notify the state tomorrow that we are scheduled to get that. Some districts were scheduled to get the 6 million and they decided not to go. And so the state needs to know if boards are gonna go for it, so that they have that money in reserve ready for us.
Yeah, so I wanted to say that I have a tendency to lean and agree with Larry on where we're at. Like, I think it's going to be a struggle. I don't think it's impossible. I think it's going to be a struggle, but I can really appreciate the first paragraph in this resolution that states that we have determined that the need exists for the district to finance capital costs. I don't think a single one of us can deny that. Which tells me it's worth a try. It's not going to be an easy ask. And I know that.
Up at the gym, up at the Faulkner Gym, at the old gym, we're going to be remodeling the locker room, right?
The whole building, locker rooms, yes.
Why? Why the locker room? Because those kids don't even take showers any longer.
Well, because they're connected to the restrooms and that facility gets a ton of use on weekends.
well, I could see it, well, it's getting kind of, but when we do it, if it passes, don't make it a locker room, make it a team room. Then you just gotta be going, when the team comes in, everybody sits on the floor or bench and they have hooks.
It wouldn't have to have
gear.
lockers.
Yeah, you don't have to have
Oh,
lockers.
you know what I'm talking
Maybe
about.
they don't shower 'cause
And
they
you
don't
can
feel
use that as
safe
a
environment.
classroom.
Creates,
I know, but
you know.
why can't you
It's
just?
disgusting.
It
I
is,
didn't-
it's disgusting.
I did not
But
know
let's
that
make
the
it not
bathroom, the
disgusting. Yeah.
restrooms and the,
I think it's the entire building,
The
band rooms,
team
fire
room.
rooms, all this.
Especially that old corner where the locker room is, that whole place just needs to be gutted and just, you know, and someone can, like, don't do a locker room, do a team room.
So let's try to keep a little bit out of the weeds, folks, and let's talk about the resolution that we have in front of us. And no, that's okay. No, I appreciate it. I appreciate all the discussion. We've talked about this for months and months and months.
but that's the problem. We made different suggestions too, and nobody's really heard them either. Like, maybe we should wait till 26 or something like that. I mean, I'm willing to go with this because I like the price that is on my property taxes is going to be.
That's our biggest selling point.
I know, but there's still a lot of people out there.
The huge concern that I have, major concern that I have, is that we continue to have high cost issues with our buildings, and it is sucking up our budget.
Yeah, we saw that today.
We have spent a lot of money the last 2 years. If we had passed the bond back when we first went and we failed by 104 votes, we would be in a different position now. And we keep on, in the fall, it was the elevator. Then we had an HVAC system go out. We've had issue after issue, and they just get more and more expensive. A bond, the focus on safety and security and critical needs. I hear Sean time and time again, if we don't do something about the high school roof, it's gonna get more expensive 2 years down the road for what we need to do.
And we might be North Medford or wherever.
my
When it
gosh.
falls in.
Yeah.
From the sun.
And those are all really effective selling points, I think, especially framed against the budget that we're all sitting here with our jaws open tonight and saying, and hearing, hey, we spent $500,000 that we don't have this year. And I think a lot of people, even though you don't have a bunch of money in your pocket, can relate to the fact
But I
that
think a lot
if
of
you
going
don't
on
fix
is
something, it's gonna cost
Yes,
more.
exactly.
inflation is so high right now too.
And it's not gonna be better in 6
Yeah.
months. It's not gonna be better next year. There's never gonna be a good time.
Well, like I said, I mean, it's fine, the prices,
And it's hard, the challenge of communicating out is that should the bond pass in May, it's 6 months to sell, get the construction going. You're still talking a year to 18 months before we really get going on things, because it would be the summer after. So you're talking summer of 26. And I'm very nervous about where our facilities are gonna be in summer of 26. That's my sense of urgency if we postpone this. I think we can put forth our best effort. I think we've done a great job at dropping the rate. I think Kyle is right to keep it under $1. And I think we have a great list of projects that are our most critical needs that we can communicate out. So, just my take on it.
I don't disagree with you at all, Larry. I agree. I just think what I feel like in my seat is I can say, this is what it looks like from here, from the board, and present that case. And to do that and fail, you know what, maybe that happens. But to do nothing means like, we don't even have a chance of changing anything.
I'm not saying
That's
not
what I
to do
I
nothing.
agree. I don't think we're disagreeing. I'm just kind of stating
It's just,
what I'm feeling.
I'm just telling you what I hear.
And quite honestly, we don't know what's gonna happen with the Awesome program, so we should probably get in there and.
Get it while we can.
Exactly. You know?
Yeah, I'm worried also. I mean, that's kind of what I hear is everybody is worried. And yeah, you're right. We have no guarantees, but we know what we know is that
My big
The
worry is
need
we don't get
exists.
a pack and then it comes back on us.
Yeah,
And,
I worry
you know,
about that
The
too.
board is not supposed to run the bond committee,
We are supposed to be actively involved.
right?
All right. Any other questions or discussion? I think this is great. I think this is what the community has elected us to sit up here and have these discussions. And to say, we've spent months and months looking through the documents, going to committee meetings and saying, this is what we think as a board and this is what our shot is as a district. And then going out and pitching it as best we can. I think this is like a great example of the board doing what the board needs to be doing. So I appreciate the discussion. Anything else? All right, if not, let's go ahead and take a vote on the resolution.
Larry,
Aye.
Samantha,
Aye.
Ruby,
Aye.
Scott.
Aye. All right, the resolution passes 5-0. Thanks, everyone. That is all of our business tonight. All of our action items. Topics for the next meeting.
Well, I'm not gonna be around that.
Are we going to be close enough to talk about the Shapa contract next week?
Yes.
Okay, that'll be on there. That'll be March. So is it safe to say we would hopefully have a pack in place by then? And then we can be talking about the bond
Yes.
sometimes. Okay.
We have an update on the bond, the Shoppa contract, my contract. I think we're gonna be waiting on, the collective bargaining agreement for license a little bit longer. And then we will be negotiating, a full contract for classified. So that will be in later months. But those things from March already on the agenda.
Did we publish a budget committee calendar yet?
No,
No, we will need to do that.
Supposed to get down to the next meeting. Anybody, anything else? Anyone talk about next meeting? No. All right,
Let's get out of here.
anybody have any board comments? I can go around or I can just throw it open because we've all done a lot of talking tonight. Anybody have any comments they want to?
Two comments.
Go ahead.
It was really fun to go to the schools and walk around. I've already been to FCS, but it was nice to see the high school and see some of you there live and in action. And so that was cool. If you haven't had a chance, I would highly encourage you. And then second, oh my gosh. Oh, the fishing derby event is coming up, right? At some point?
It was brought up today at Rotary, so they're planning that for, I think, the second.
Oh, wait, no, the FCS.
Oh, the jazz.
Sorry. No, the FCS fishing
No,
trip.
the
Oh,
fishing
the
trip,
fishing trip.
but it's
They
later
don't
in the
have a
year.
date for that yet.
Okay,
It's usually close to the end of the year.
Yeah, it's like in May.
okay, I was gonna say, I encourage you all to come because it was fun last year.
So fun.
Yeah.
It's very fun. I will make sure that the board is aware of that one. Thank you.
And that's it.
I don't really have a comment, but I was just curious if our student rep had anything to share. I feel like she's so quiet, but she's got to have something to share.
next month, St. mentioned me and Megan Whitehead will be getting our MFA state degrees.
Wow. All right.
All right. March 5th will be actual board meeting, so we'll see y'all back here then.
Oh.
Adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Long.
Because we were paying more interest out, and the interest